My job is all about purpose.
Just the ability to make a difference, to help someone be able to go home at the end of the day.
My great-grandfather started the volunteer fire department in Springfield, Nebraska. My grandmother was a nurse. My uncle was a fire chief in Atlanta, Georgia. So somewhere down the line, it was my purpose to be doing this.
Yeah, we're a family here.
The data we get from Rapid SOS is life-saving.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
I'm sitting there talking, and I do mention it there too, but even sitting here listening to myself share that story, I could, like, the hair on my arms and everything started standing up, because there are some sounds that you don't forget. Those who are watching and listening to this right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're from the profession, you know what I'm talking about. There are certain sounds that you will never forget. And that call specifically is one that I won't forget.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
What's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This is going to be episode 638. We are just plowing through the episodes. A lot of things going on, as always. A lot of powerful stories. This episode, however, is going to be similar to the last few, where I have just been here talking with all of you one-on-one. And it's been a lot of fun to do. As I've mentioned in the past, when I first started doing the podcast, there were a lot of episodes where it was just me talking. It was me explaining certain things, and it has been fun to do that again. Don't get me wrong. Excuse me. I fully enjoy recording with guests, and the next episode will be an episode with a guest, and several more. But I'm going to go back and forth every so often and do episodes where it's just me talking and sharing some experiences from life, being at conferences, teaching, all different types of things. And so the next one, I believe, is going to be Hannah will be the guest for that episode. And I'm sure she's probably wondering, like, what happened to my episode? Because it was a long time ago. It was over a month ago, actually, that I recorded that episode with Hannah, and that was at the Florida NINA conference out in Destin. And It's a phenomenal episode. You do not want to miss that one. Excuse me. And I have more folks that are coming on and recording with me, sharing some amazing stories. I also have one about it was a dispatcher who took a call about this raccoon that broke into a convenience store or liquor store or something like that and got into some spirits and um, got drunk. And they removed the raccoon ended up getting removed, and I believe it was taken to a shelter to sober up, and then they ended up taking it, and it was let out back in the wild. I'm sorry. It's just it is just it's a funny call, and it's hilarious. So, having the dispatcher come on and have her share the story is going to be hilarious. Of course, we're gonna get, her entire story, right, but, that's gonna be one of the main, focuses is that call. And before I get into everything that I'm going to say, actually, no, let me backtrack a little bit first. So this episode is sponsored by Rapid SOS, Safer Together, and big shout out to subscribers, everyone watching, listening, supporting, and sharing. Thank you all very much for everything, because as I always say, I wouldn't be able to do everything that I do if it wasn't for all of you and your support. So thank you very, very much. And so, going on with this, I did an open mic from an Imagine Listening session, and there was a dispatcher who shared a story about there was a lady who called. She was freaked out. It was nighttime, I believe, and um, she was walking upstairs to her apartment to go into her apartment. And when she got up there, she looked down and there was a raccoon that was right next to her, and she screamed really loud and the raccoon screamed really loud, and she says something to the effect of, "I didn't even know raccoons could scream like that." It's like a cartoon, man. They were reacting to each other. She runs downstairs, the raccoon is running with her and then takes off completely. Oh, man. Excuse me. So that's pretty hilarious. So, I can't wait to have the dispatcher on to talk about, that call and share that story, because it's gonna be a fun one. That's gonna be really good. So, make sure to look out for that. That's gonna be coming up soon, because we're gonna be recording and such. We're just trying to find the time to get our schedules to match up. I had been traveling for almost a month straight. I mean, I was coming home in between, but it was back to back to back to back to back to back to back, just over and over. So it got really crazy. But during one of those back to backs is the focus of today's episode. So today, I want to talk about an experience that I had, and it has to do with dispatch and it has to do with my time in dispatch, which is why I wanted to talk about this and just do a one on one versus doing an episode with a guest and talking about this. So, about a month or so ago, I was working here in this room that you see that I'm in. And I think I was editing an episode and I ended up getting an email from a producer. Her name is Maggie with Business Insider. And I was reading through it, and she ends up mentioning that they wanted to do, or they are looking to do an episode, because they have all kinds of different videos. So they've got Business Insider, right? And then they have I think they have a bunch of different channels off of that. And one of those is Insider. And that one, they do a bunch of different shows as well. One of them is called Authorized Account. And this channel has, I'm looking at it here right now, and it's 9.42 million subscribers. Whoa. It's a lot of subscribers. That would be amazing to have something like that on my YouTube channel, but I have just over 1,000. And that's big for me because I don't do as much as they do. Like I put an episode out every time, but they have all kinds of stuff, and we'll get into that here in a moment. But they were telling me in this email that they wanted to set up a Zoom call to talk about my story, but also to talk about how 911 dispatchers actually work and what happens, what it's really like. But they wanted to know if I was interested just to, begin with. I sent Maggie a message back and I said, I'm honored. Yeah, I would love to set up a time to talk to you over Zoom. So a few days later, we have that meeting and I'm just sharing stories with her. I'm sharing about my life. And she's sitting there just like eyes wide open. And I said, I'm sorry, am I giving you too much information? Like this is just an initial meeting. She goes, no, this is great. She goes, you're so charismatic. And I want to know more. Like there's so many questions that I have. So we talked for almost an hour, I believe. And I don't remember if it was supposed to be that long, but we talked for about an hour or just a little over an hour. And when we were done, I said, so what do you think? And she goes, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's figure it out. So so they flew me out to New York City to film with them for this segment. And man, was that an experience. That in itself was an experience. So when I get ready to fly out, I am flying out of Detroit, and it was crazy because excuse me, between the weather and everything that was going on, it was taking forever to get over there. And when I finally got there, when I finally got to the hotel, it was probably about 11:30 at night. So I was beat. I flew into JFK, and there's just so much that was going on. Like people were just angry. But it was mostly because, people that are flying internationally were flying through JFK. And I was sitting next to a guy because we were on the tarmac forever. Just forever. And I don't know, I don't remember why. Oh, I do remember why now. It was because we were waiting for um we were waiting for someone to run the jet bridge. That was the thing. There wasn't anyone available for it, believe it or not. So we're sitting there waiting for someone to show up, and finally someone shows up. But the guy sitting next to me, he goes, "Hey, you give a shit about basketball at all?" And I said, yeah, I used to watch all the time. So we're watching a Detroit Pistons game while we're waiting there. And people are getting up because they're bringing up the jet bridge for us to finally get off and deplane. And people are saying like, I've got a close connection, or my plane is boarding right now. So that guy and myself, or we're telling everyone like, just go, 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 go. Because I was already there at my destination, and so was he. So we were telling people just like, run, good luck, run. I end up making it out to to baggage claim, and I'm waiting there with, it had to have been over 100 people. So there was about 4 or 5 airlines that were all in the same one. So everyone is waiting. And I see my bag and I'm like trying to push through and saying, excuse me, excuse me. And some people are pushing back. I'm like, okay, I'll go the other way. Sheesh. But I get my bag and I get ready to leave. Now it's freezing outside. So I got my big jacket out of my suitcase and I end up going out and I go to get a cab. Now, it was my first time flying that way, or flying into JFK, I should say, and being in the big city, NYC. I'd never been there before. So I don't know all of the ins and outs, but I'm walking outside looking for the taxis, and there's this line, and this dude is just like, "You looking for a taxi?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, 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 I need to get into the city." And he's like, "All right, take this ticket, go back down to D3 or whatever number it was and letter." And I'm thinking, am I doing this right? Am I in the right line? Turns out that what I took wasn't like your traditional taxis. It was something different. Well, it took almost 40 minutes to get from the airport into Lower Manhattan where I was going to be staying. And once I get there, the guy starts figuring out the price and I said, "Do you take cash or card?" And he goes, "Usually, we prefer cash, but we'll take cards." He goes, "There's a 3% charge on it." And I said, "Oh, that's fine." And he goes, "It'll be 175 and whatever change it was." And I'm just sitting there and I said, "Excuse me?" And he says it again and I thought, "No way. It's going to cost me just under 200 bucks for this ride. This is nuts." So I said, "Well, I'm going to have to pay by card." And he's like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And so I pay by card and I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm glad that I had the money to do this because that sucks." So I go into the hotel. Again, it's about 11:30 or so when I finally get there. I ask if there's going to be another if I can add one more night to the room that I have because I was originally going to be attending a meeting there as well, which was something separate from what I was going there originally. But then the meeting got changed, so I was just gonna be there, so I needed another night. And they said, "No, we don't have anything, but check back in the morning before you go off to do what you gotta do." And I said, "Alright." So I go to my room, and I believe it was on the ninth floor. No, the 10th floor. And it was like a box, dude. It was the smallest room I've ever been in, and it was still cool, though. And I was taking all kinds of pictures and everything, but I couldn't sleep. And they had told me that, when before you come in, get kind of a hearty breakfast because we're going to be filming for a while. And I just, I said, okay. Well, I was nervous. I didn't get much sleep. So there was no way I was going to be eating in the morning when I got up. So I'm all dressed up, dressed to impress. And I go downstairs right before I walk over to where we're going to be filming because it was like a 3-minute walk. So I talked to the person who's at the desk and I said, "Do you guys potentially have another room?" And I explained what happened the night before. And she goes, "We do have a room that's open, but it's only for a suite." And I thought, I'm in New York City. If it cost just under 200 bucks for me to take a taxi over here, I can just imagine how much that is going to cost. And she goes, "They usually run about $600 to $700 a night." And I thought, oh my gosh, I might just have to do this. And she goes, "What are you here for again?" And I told her, and she goes, "Let me see if I can get you a discount." And I said, "All right, cool." And as she's looking, I'm just kind of praying, like, please let there be even 50 bucks less. Like, come on. And she goes, how does $359 sound? And I said, you know what? That sounds amazing. Good to go. Let's do that. So I ended up getting a suite for $359. Now I didn't see the room. I thought, oh, maybe it'll be a slightly bigger box. So anyway, I leave and I start my walk to the building again, which is like a 3-4 minute walk from where I was at. And I was taking some video out there, and also it's Christmas time. It was like the week or so before Christmas. So there's lights everywhere. It's cold. It's snowy a little bit, not a lot, but you can see a little bit of snow. And it's just gorgeous around there. And people are walking around, and I thought this is really cool. Even just this is pretty cool. So I go in, I meet Maggie face to face, and then we go upstairs and we start getting prepped to film what I'm about to show you right now. So this is property of Business Insider or Insider. So I'll say that right off the bat. I'm only going to play the intro and just the intro and the first story. And then I'm going to talk about it as we go through. Because when we were done, I had taken pictures by the Business Insider sign and everything else. And I said, can I post this without saying what I actually did? Or can I just post a picture that was taken of me, but with all the cameras and stuff? And she goes, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can definitely do that. But again, like you said, don't say. She goes, I mean, I guess you can, but we and I said, no, that's cool. I said, this is a good thing because I can tease it. And then when it finally comes out, then we can, release it all. And she goes, okay, cool. And I get it. I'm the same way. I wouldn't want to put it all out there where, people might not come back because then they're going to know exactly what it was that I was doing. So I wanted to keep it as much of a surprise as they wanted to keep it, with their content and stuff. So we filmed for 5 hours straight. And this video clocks in at 38 minutes, 43 seconds. So I'll be honest, I was nervous. Once I saw the time compared to how long we filmed, I was a little nervous, like, how's it going to come out? But I will say this, it is phenomenal. They did an amazing job sharing my story and what it is that we do as 911 professionals. And I loved it. Love it. I'm going to go ahead and play the intro in the first chapter because it's in chapters. So the intro and the first chapter, and then we're going to talk about it here. But I wanted to be able to show it this way, give them a shout out, and make this episode about this specific situation because I'm sharing stories in here as well, which is why you tune in to Within the Trenches podcast, for the stories, for the people that are on, and because we talk about the profession. So I want to add this up here really quick, and we're going to share it from here. So I'm just going to click on this option over here. For those who are listening only in audio right now, you'll be able to hear me. You won't be able to see it, obviously, but you will at least be able to hear everything that is on here. So let me put this up here. All right. And here we go. My name is Ricardo Martinez II. I spent 13 years as a 911 dispatcher. This is everything that I'm authorized to tell you. You see what you see on TV, and you think, wow, that's what it's going to be. But that first time you end up hearing a parent scream because their child isn't breathing, that is when it's real. And people just are not cut out for it. When there are multiple emergencies that are coming in, we have to start triaging these calls. You are the one who has to decide which one is the highest priority and lowest priority, even when all of them seem like the highest priority.
What a 911 dispatcher actually does is they are taking calls from everyone when they are living their worst nightmare. People are not calling in when they're having the best day possible. To this day, some of the sounds that stick with me are those that I heard in these phone calls that I took. A call that I can remember taking was it was a girl who, she had just broken up with her boyfriend, and he kind of started stalking her. And she calls late at night and she says, he's out here and I've seen him walking around the house. I need help. So I get all the information that I need to get. And she tells me that she's in the basement. She's hiding in the basement right now from him. I'm trying to keep her calm. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm freaking out there with her because I'm thinking, please don't let this person break into the house. Please help officers get there in time to get to her and to get this guy out of there. And as she's talking, and I can hear it right now, and I can feel the hair in the back of my neck standing a little bit, the doorbell. He hits the doorbell, and it was so loud in my headset that I remember it rattled my ear a little bit. And she goes, yeah, he's hitting the doorbell. And she goes, he's out there. And as I'm typing all of this in, it goes off again. Officers end up getting there on scene, and the guy runs. They end up getting him, and they take him in. Now, if I'm at a hardware store or something and people are hitting doorbells, I've heard it a couple times, and I have stopped. And I think, oh, yep, that was from that call.
So that was the intro and the first chapter. I believe there's about 11 chapters in this video. And what I will say here is that as of right now, it was posted 5 days ago, and it is at 118,000 views. And it continues to climb. And just some of the comments on here, this person says, this man has a great voice for this. And there are so many other comments that are in here and everything. This person says his voice matches perfectly for the profession. And I think someone even says that I could have a job in doing voiceover work or reading books because I have the type of voice that they could listen to for hours. So thank you to all of you who said that. I appreciate you very, very much. But that right there is just a glimpse at this just over 38-minute video that I did with Business Insider. And it's called How 911 Dispatchers Actually Work. Now, here's the thing. When I was teasing this, what I was telling people was, this is what I'm authorized to tell you. And that right there was my hint. That was the Easter egg, if you will, on what this was going to be. Because this is my authorized account of how 911 dispatchers actually work. And again, they did such a great job. Now, what I can say too is, you heard that story. I'm sitting there talking, and I do mention it there too, but even sitting here listening to myself share that story, I could, like, the hair on my arms and everything started standing up, because there are some sounds that you don't forget. Those who are watching and listening to this right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're from the profession, you know what I'm talking about. There are certain sounds that you will never forget. And that call specifically is one that I won't forget. And it's true, being in a hardware store, especially the bigger ones like Home Depot and Lowe's and all of those, Menards, they have sections that are just doorbells. And people will go and press them and try them out to see what they sound like. And I have gone through one of those bigger stores before, and someone has hit the doorbell that sounds almost exactly like the one from the story that I just shared with you. And I have stopped and I just, oh, like I cringe just a little bit because it did indeed rattle my ear. And it wasn't just one time that that guy pressed it. I mean, he pressed it numerous times. And I just remember after I got off the call and I knew she was safe and everything, I remember my partner that was sitting there goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, no, I'm okay. It's just that doorbell." And I mentioned it. And I don't remember if I played it back or not. Because for those who are watching and listening who are not in the profession, we have a recorder that we have access to that we can play back to a certain amount of time and hear that. I mean, you can listen to the entire call is what I'm saying as well, but after a little bit, it's you can only play back so much. You would have to go into the system to pull the actual call out. But for that amount of time right there, I was able to play it back and hear it. And that is a moment that is just oof, like if this is a weird reference to say, but if you remember The Lion King, when they're saying Mufasa and the hyenas are like, "Ooh, say it again," and they're just like, like because it's giving them the chills. That's my my kind of description on how that doorbell was, but like 100 times worse because you know that someone is there stalking another person. And if they were to get in, there's potential for them to hurt that person. And also, you would hear all of what is going on. And there have been calls where you do hear everything that is going on. I've spoken to many dispatchers over the years, and they've mentioned some of the noises, some of the sounds, some of the things that they've heard that stick with them. And yeah, those sounds can be triggers. As evident from the doorbell description that I gave, being at hardware stores and stuff, that it happens. But again, I'm there, I'm recording all these stories when I'm talking about what it is like. And I wanted to I wanted to be able to show those who are not in the profession, those that are in the general public, what it is really like, especially with some of the descriptions that I gave. So, I'm asked what it's really what is it like when you're multitasking? What is it like to triage? That whole setup. And I wanted it to be as real as possible, but also to leave almost a cliffhanger a little bit when I asked the question. Now, I don't want to play too much of this because I want you, those of you who are watching and listening, to go back and watch this. And I'm going to make sure to put the links everywhere when this episode comes out and such. But the scenario that I give and what I tell people, because sometimes people will say, "What is it really like?" And I give them a scenario. And this is the scenario that I give everyone that I'm going to give to you right now. So I want you to imagine you've got 3 calls that come in. The first call that comes in is a PI accident, a personal injury accident. This is on the highway, so you're getting tons of calls for this accident. And as all of these calls are coming in, you have help going out to them right away. Each call that comes in is someone saying, "Did you get the call for the accident on such and such highway at such and such mile marker?" Yes. Has anything changed? This is what I have so far. You confirm with them and then you go to the next call. Same thing over, over, over. But one of those calls is not the accident. One of those calls that you pick up ends up being a domestic between husband and wife. And it is verbal only, meaning they're just arguing. There's nothing physical. No one has been hurt or anything, but you're trying to keep them separated. Now, the first call, help is already on the way. The second call, you have people heading out there. And it's a tone out. Domestics, whether it's verbal or physical, it's a tone out, meaning you put it out over the air for any officer that's in the area to go out there, because also, and they're going lights and sirens, because also anything can happen in 911. That call can go to hell quick. It can go south. But you're keeping them separated at the moment. Help is on the way. Another call comes in, and you're so busy because you're the one who's on phones, you have to put them on hold for just a moment to check the other line. That third call is a medical. And you now have to give CPR instructions. You get help toned out that way. And you are going through CPR with this caller. Now, at a point for CPR, they're doing a ton amount of compressions. And EMS is almost there. They're just about out at the home. So you take that moment while they're doing textbook CPR to put them on hold and check on that domestic, because officers aren't there yet. They were kind of far. And when you check on that domestic, now there's a weapon involved. So you've got these 3 calls. Who do you stay with? Who do you stay with? And this is the question that I asked the producer as we're going through this. Now, I will say the same way I've said whenever I give this scenario. And my description and everything, the way I'm putting it out there, this was over a few minutes, right? Several minutes that it took me to explain all of this. But when you're going through this scenario, it's happening like that. It's fast. So what do you do? Do you put them back on hold to go to the CPR? Or do you stay with what's in progress? Now, for me personally, and people might disagree, but I am going to stay with the domestic that has a weapon involved now. It is currently in progress. My officers don't know about this weapon, so I have to let them know what they're going into to not only keep them safe, but also keep my caller and everyone there as safe as possible with everything that I can do, because now I know what's going on too. You might think, well, why wouldn't you stay with the CPR? Well, they're doing textbook CPR. They're doing compressions. They're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing right now until EMS gets there. And when I took that moment to put them on hold, EMS was just about there. So you stick with the one that's in progress. And I explained that as well to the producer and to anybody else who asks what it's really like, is because when I ask you that question, who do you stay with? People a lot of times will be like, just that, eyes popped open, mouth open. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. Well, how crazy is that? That's how much pressure. And the way I say in the video, I'll say in this episode, it's not to scare anyone. That's just the reality of this profession. You are making decisions, split-second decisions, most of your shift. I mean, there is some downtime. It's not a lot, but you're making quick decisions. And That's also why I like to put that scenario out there, because I've worked a similar scenario, not that exact one, but it's based off of one that I did years and years and years ago. And those who are listening and watching this right now, who come from the 911 profession, you've probably done something similar too, where you're having to decide quickly which call is the highest priority when all of them feel like they're the highest priority. It's crazy. But it's also amazing as well. And what I mean by amazing as well is the rewarding part of it. Yeah, there's a lot of hell and chaos and everything in 911, but there's a lot of things that are rewarding as well. It's just like in the I Am 911 movement. The majority of the stories that are shared are ones that people have been holding on to. But there are a lot of stories that are shared in there that are good outcomes, that are saves, or people writing in their side of the story, saying, if it wasn't for this dispatcher, I might not be here today. Thank you. It's easy to focus on all of the dark and hard shit, but there's also so many good and rewarding moments as well. And in this video, a lot of those moments are shared, which is why I loved the way they did it, because it's, for lack of a better way to put it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of this profession is in there. You know, we talk about the training part. We even talk about reclassification and what that is going to take. And I love that this has come out now, because next month, the last part of February, is the 911 Goes to Washington conference that Nina puts on annually. And from what I understand, a big part of what they're going to be doing is pushing reclassification. So I'm glad that this came out when it did, because it's going to do a lot of good. I mean, 118,000 people have already watched it, and it's going to continue to build. And people are going to continue to learn about the important work that 911 professionals do. And that's why I wanted to do this as well, is to show all of the good things that 911 professionals do, the rewarding part, but also how hard and challenging that it can be. And just to be able to give back to the 911 profession and acknowledge how important 911 professionals are. Not a lot of people can do this job, but I will do everything in my power to continue to advocate for these 911 professionals, to share their stories, to share my story, to be able to share how they're superheroes, superpowers of multitasking, being a chameleon to take shape or blend into every situation, but also blend into almost every profession. I say in here, the 911 professionals turn into a therapist, negotiators, parents, all kinds of things that you can think of, we turn into to do this job and get people the help that they need as fast as possible. But also those superpowers of multitasking, dispatch ear, your voice, and your story. That's what makes this video so important. To be able to assist with all of that. But what's more important is all of you in the job that you do every single day in this profession of 911. So the experience was amazing. Again, I was there filming for 5 hours. The result was nothing short of just simply amazing. They did such a good job. Thank you, Business Insider, and Maggie, the producer that I sat with, everyone who was there who helped make this possible and a reality, and just for giving me the opportunity to come in and share my story and talk about the profession that I love so much. You know, we even share I shared the story about my grandmother, and I know I've shared it a lot in this podcast, and I talk about it on Open Mic Live and everything, especially the anniversary of my grandmother's passing. But to see it on screen the way they did it, and to see the pictures of my siblings and I with our grandmother, and then the last picture of her and I months before she passed away, I broke hard, like ugly crying. I've told the story many times and I get emotional, but it wasn't anything compared to seeing the way they put it together and to see the pictures of all of us. I just tears just rushing down. I lost it. One, because I miss my grandmother so much, and two, because it's a story that will always be with me. And even though it's a hard one to tell, it's an honor because my grandmother was there when I was born, so it was fitting that I was there when she passed away. And then when we were done is when I went and took all of those pictures. And I left and I actually went to one of the carts and I got just like a classic hot dog and a drink just to say that I experienced going to the carts there in the city. And I went back to my hotel and I had to sit in the lobby for a little while. But once my room was ready, I went upstairs and oh my Lord, it was gorgeous. I will be posting some videos up soon. I won't talk too much about it here, but just know that it was amazing. And I got myself a cheese pizza from Joe's Pizza, and it was outstanding. It was the best that I've ever had. I felt like Kevin McAllister from Home Alone, lost in New York. I had my own cheese pizza. I was sitting in a suite. I watched that movie in the living room of my room that I was staying in. I was on the 28th floor and I got to see the entire skyline, and I was right above the 9/11 memorial. That night, I went out and I saw Times Square. I was at Rockefeller Center. And I saw the ice skating rink, which was a little smaller than what I expected, and saw the tree, which was really cool. And then the next day, I went to Cat's Delicatessen, which if you've never been there and you ever get a chance to go, because that food was amazing. And I walked around the 9/11 memorial. I didn't get to go into the actual museum, but just walking around there, I got emotional. I started crying when I was by one of the spots because there's a waterfall that goes down into it. And I just couldn't imagine everything that happened that day, but also thinking about all of the first responders involved as well and what they went through. Calls, people asking for help, people going out there trying to pull rubble off of other people, and just the search. It was overwhelming. But it wasn't a chaotic feeling. It was kind of a sense of peace a little bit. But either way, it was very emotional. And then from there, I ended up going to the airport, but there was one last stop before the airport, and it was Hook and Ladder 8. It was the fire station that is an active fire station, but on one side, it's Ghostbusters. It was that one. So that was really cool to see too. And it was just the experience. All of it was great. So I just wanted to take this time in this episode to not only share that experience, but also give you a preview of this video that I did for Business Insider, but as part of their insider YouTube channel. It is the authorized accounts. And again, I will put the links in there so that all of you can check it out. And please watch, comment, share, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. And I wanted to show more, but I don't want to give too much of it away. So all I can say is that they did an amazing job once again. I love the way it turned out. I was honored to be able to go and do this and have my story captured that way, but also to talk about the 911 profession and to be able to give back and help share what it's like so that people know what's going on when they're calling, but also what it's really like for us. Because again, people don't fully know. And with this and everything else I do and other people do, and just your stories in general, the whole world will continue to know how important you are. So thank you, all of you, for what you do and for your trust in me to share your stories and for giving me the opportunity to play just a small part in your 911 story and the story of this profession. So thank you, all of you. And one last thing as we go into the wrap up, hold your head up high. Because like I said before, a couple times now, not a lot of people can do what it is that you do. But one voice can change the world. And I'm talking about all of you out there. Your voice can change the world. It can change the world of your callers and everyone on the other side of the radio, but especially those around you. Take care of yourself and take care of those around you, because we're going to be the ones to get through all of this together. So just keep doing what you do as the most vital piece of public safety, because everything starts with you. Every call is another part of your story, another part of your career. And if you can, write down your wins, because when you're going through hard call after hard call and you forget, or you maybe wonder, am I in the right place? Look at those wins. One of my wins, one of my rewards is in this video as well. And it's one that I will always hold on to and will always be with me. So if anyone has any comments, questions, you ever want to be a guest on this show, whether you are new to dispatch, seasoned, or you are retired, you can send me an email, and that is wttpodcast@gmail.com. But to do this the easy way, the easiest way to do this is to simply go to the link that's right there, and that is links.co/IM911. That is links with 2 i's.co/IM911. And you'll find everything there. Email, social media, where to follow, where to see and listen to the latest episodes of the Within the Trenches podcast and the Imagine Listening podcast. The link to the free Trenches community that has over 200 hours of continuing education, exclusive home to the Public Safety Showcase, and the home of the Dispatchers Roundtable. There are 45 hours worth of content on there. Panel broadcasts on all kinds of topics that have to do with 911. So make sure to check that out. It's free. So go there. You'll find it. You'll also find links to the Imagine Listening books, Volume 1 and Volume 2, my versions of those. I have self-published those books. There's another book out there, Imagine Listening, which is the original one that is currently for sale, but it's through the publishing house that I no longer have an association with. So you'll know which ones are mine because they are hardcover and softcover, and they're like, it's like a square. It's a big book. It's like a picture book. But those are located there as well, and I thank you very much for that support. And then there are links to the store for dispatch or podcast merch. So again, that is links with 2 i's.co/IM901. You'll find all of that there. This can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X, and LinkedIn Live. And then you can find clips on Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, as well as TikTok. You'll find all of that around there. And then you can listen to the podcast 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone. And we will see you all in the next one. Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But imagine listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.